Hey everybody, today we're talking about enharmonic reinterpretation. Previously we talked about the enharmonic equivalent properties of the augmented sixth chord in 5/7. Well, today we're going to talk about enharmonically equivalent 7 fully diminished 7 chords, which can also be used as a means of modulation to distant key areas. So what we're going to do is explore a little bit about the 7 fully diminished 7. And what I want to do is have us spell a chord to begin. I would like to think about it as starting on B. So what we need to do to spell a fully diminished 7 on B is think all minor thirds all the time. It's going to sound like this. So how do we spell that? We would have B, D, F, and A flat. So it's going to look like this. There's our fully diminished 7 chord. And so if we're hanging out with this chord, we want to think about, first of all, what the root of the chord is. And I gave that to you. It's going to be B, right? Okay. Now, before we move on and try to think about how we can respell this chord to reflect a different root, I want to think about what key we would likely see this chord in. So if we had to give it a symbol, we know it's going to be the 7 fully diminished 7 chord, right? That's what we had decided. But my question to you then is, what key does this chord exist in as the 7 fully diminished 7? The easy way to do this is to look at the root of the chord, which here is B, and it's always going to be a half step below the key that you would tonicize. So in this case, we would tonicize the key of C with this chord, and it would sound like this. Or you can tonicize either a major or minor key with that 7 fully diminished 7. So, in sum, the chord we spelled is the B fully diminished 7, and it would be used as the 7 fully diminished 7 in the key of C major or C minor. Now, here's where the cool stuff happens. What I want to do is respell this chord to reflect a different root. So I don't want B to be the root anymore, but I want to respell it so that it's enharmonically equivalent to a chord where D is now the root. So can we think about how we would spell this with D being the root? We would have this. D, F, A flat, same as the other chords. But then, how are we going to spell the 7th of the chord? We don't spell it as B, do we? But rather as C flat. Like that. Now, if we want to write it in the identical position so that's entirely enharmonically equivalent to this previous chord, what you want to do is take that C flat and put it down there. These two chords are identical in terms of how they sound. That's B fully diminished 7. Big surprise there. That's D fully diminished 7 with C flat now as the lowest note. So if D is the root of this chord, the question now becomes, as we've reconceived this chord, what key would we be tonicizing? And again, the way we figure this out is by identifying the root of the chord, which in this case, the way we've spelled it is D, And that's always going to be a half step below the key that we tonicize. So your answer would be, we're going to be tonicizing the key of E flat. My next question to you is, what is the figured bass that goes with this new respelling? It's a 4-2 position. So when we respell this chord as a 4-2, we're now tonicizing E flat. This is what that sounds like. Compare that to how it was when we spelled it as a B fully diminished 7. Cool, huh? Okay, we have got two other permutations of ways we can respell our original chord. This time what I want to do is take F to be the conceptual root. Okay, and then we need to do a stack of thirds from that F. What we would get is F, A flat, C flat, and oh my gosh, what's that other one going to be? Ugh, that's disgusting. E double flat. Tell you what, I am really not into this chord at all. So I'm going to put an X through it. I don't like double flats. So why don't we think of another way that we can respell this chord? Any ideas of how we can use enharmonicism to do that? How about, instead of using F as the root, let's respell it as E sharp, its enharmonic equivalent. If we do that, we would have E sharp, G sharp, B natural, D natural. That's a much more user-friendly way to spell this chord. When we do this, that's going to make our conceptual root E sharp. So what key would we be tonicizing? Again, take the root, E sharp, and think, what is a half step above it? That, my friends, would be F sharp. Now, let's reconfigure this chord so that we can keep it identical in sound to the first one. So we need to rearrange some of these notes. I'm going to take that top note, that D, and put it down here. And I'm going to take that B and put it down an octave. So what we get is going to be identical in sound to our original chord. But now we are calling it B, D, E sharp, G sharp. And then if you identify the correct Roman numeral and figured bass for it, you'll see that this becomes the 4-3 version of the chord. We've got a third above the lowest note and a fourth above the lowest note. And then our last configuration of this chord, where we take A flat as the new chord root, we end up getting A flat, C flat, E double flat. Oh, this is getting out of control. Do you see what's going to happen here? Oh my, I can't even do this. So, again, I'm not interested in this flat business. What we need to do is find an enharmonic equivalent for the chord root. So instead of using A flat, friends, let's use G sharp. And we would have G sharp, B, D, F. That is much more user-friendly. So what I'm going to do is reconfigure again, just like we did these other ones. The chord root is G sharp. That is going to make us tonicizing the key of A. And again, it can be A major or A minor. And what we want to do is get the shape of the 6-5 by reconfiguring these notes so that it's enharmonically identical to the original version. So what I'm going to do is put the F down here, the D down here, and the B down there. Whoa, I've got too many notes. What happened? That's weird. I'll fix it. There we go. So what we end up having is the B7, the original one, which we would resolve to C. Then the next one, where we're reconceiving this note, the D, as the new root, tonicizing E flat. And then the next one, we're taking this note, calling it E sharp, and tonicizing F sharp. And then finally, I'm taking the top note, respelling it as G sharp, and making that tonicize A. So, in sum, the 7 fully diminished 7th chord can be respelled in a number of different ways, where we can reconceive any member of the chord as a new chord root that can tonicize the key of the note that is a half step above it. In a moment, we'll move on to seeing how this works in a piece of music by Schubert.